Yeah, please don't.
That wouldn't do anybody any good.
Then we'd have to explain that foul odor.
There you go, the sulfur smell too, right?
So it's okay to just ask normal questions, but you don't ask them to do anything.
Questions are absolutely fine,
Yeah.
even if you suspect it's inhuman. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. The provocation is to the point where you're provoking it, like you're poking it with a stick and you're challenging it. You're saying, come on, you chicken, come on. You know,
It's the challenge.
it's the challenge that you want to avoid because you don't want to challenge something. Asking it to rap 3 times, you may offend a human spirit by doing that as well. But the questions that you would typically want to ask are questions that you think you'll get a response to. What's your name? What do you see when you look out the window? You know, just innocuous questions that are harmless. Challenging is a different thing. To me, that's provocation, and there aren't very many people out there in the field of demonology that would recommend that you provoke anything out there, regardless of what you think it is, because, again, you don't know what it is.
One of the things that I did it for the first time with Upton, I jotted them down because I didn't have a printed out list, but I've been trying to streamline my questions during a session by, you know, I'll research it online, researching the questions that are asked by other groups and other people, simplified questions for simple answers, not for provoking, just
Right.
very standard name, age, color.
Not open-ended questions, because you're not going to wait for a dissertation from a spirit.
Exactly. So that's like you just said, I've been trying to streamline the question asking and
That's an
trying to get
excellent.
straight answers. And actually, you wound up asking the questions that were actually on my printed out list, which was great because it was where I was going to go.
Yeah.
That's an excellent idea. That's a very good idea. A lot of people will sit in a room doing an EBP session and they're just not sure what to say. I mean, asking the standard questions or having a list of questions is great, and then based on what you feel is going on, and I'm 100% with going with your feelings. We do use a science-based approach, but you can sense if there's something going on. And if you do sense that, and it's unusual feeling to you, it could be a sign of oppression, which is something acting upon you. If you feel that, you can change your line of questioning to go around that. Are you angry with us? Are you angry that we're here? Is this your home? Do you want us to leave? Questions like that, you know, certainly tailor those around what you think is going on around you. But as far as the provocation goes, it's just not good. It's not a good thing. The last thing on there, protect yourself and your team with St. Michael's prayer. St. Michael is a principal archangel, defender of those in battle, and defender against the forces of evil. The prayer is certainly something that if I don't say it in front of the group, I'm going to say it in my car before I go in. And that protects everybody in the group as well.
I think that is something that we should do.
I usually have it.
We
I
have it, but we don't
I usually say it
do the
before I
same
do.
thing. I say it in my car on the way to your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm wondering if maybe we should get together as a group, as long as everybody in the group is okay with it.
If you have a meeting place before you go to your investigation, certainly do it there. I carry a field book with me, field notebook, and right on the front I have St. Michael's prayer and Ephesians 6 right below that. Ephesians 6 is the armor of God. I carry them with me all the time.
I wear my medals, so.
Any protection that is of personal strength in your faith to you is an excellent idea. Every demonologist I've ever met agrees that these are the best way to protect yourself, to protect everyone with you, and to protect your client.
I try to mentally prepare myself, and I say like the Lord's Prayer and the Hail Mary and all that, but we'll start adding to the repertoire.
You know, certainly, again, these are suggestions of things that, over the years, that I've come to trust and rely on. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to use them as a guideline for yourself, but certainly you can take them into consideration for your future investigations. I believe that there's other materials out there that if you're interested in, one of the good things out there that's a little difficult reading, it's kind of written in an Old English style, is A Field Guide to Demons, Fairies, Fallen Angels, and Other Subversive Spirits by Carol Mack. It's
tough to read.
It is a very difficult read. I read it twice, and I'll probably read it again. But there is another book that there's 55 versions of, actually 57 versions of, and it's written in many different formats, and it's an absolute perfect tool to use to understand demonology, and it's called the Bible.
I was going to say the Bible.
And depending on which version of it you're reading, some versions of it don't believe that there are human spirits, and that the spirits that you're encountering are simply demonic spirits that are attempting to deceive you into thinking that they're human spirits by eliciting sympathy from you. So it's interesting to read different versions of that, of the Bible, and to understand exactly the roots of some of these, I'm not sure if you want to call them stories, but some of the roots of the Old Testament and the New Testament. It's interesting stuff. That book is a good book. It does have very good references in there. Again, John Zaffis, Shadows of the Dark, incredible book. It's an incredible book. If you read that, you'll learn a lot of really fascinating pieces of information regarding demonic possession, demonic entities, curses. The Warrens, I know that the Amityville Horror was definitely probably not their shining moment, but they were the groundbreaking group that really laid the foundation for modern day investigation. And they did do a lot of cases that were genuinely demonic in nature.
I did see they have the museum, is it they have down there?
In Connecticut?
Yeah. And they have that possessed Raggedy Ann doll. I saw, oh, that thing freaks me out.
I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah, some kid thought it was funny and opened it up, and he was killed
Actually,
later in the day. Oh, we could always invite her over.
Yeah, speaking of cemeteries, this is just my personal opinion. I'm not a big fan of going to investigate cemeteries because usually my theory is they're to a resting place, they're time to sleep. I really don't want to go in and bother them. Your thought on that?
My thought on cemeteries is probably a lot more unique than others have for a perspective, in that you don't encounter human spirits so much in the cemetery as you do inhuman that are going there to prey on people who are in a state of extreme grief.
Right.
And there are prayers that can be used for cemeteries, and I think I might even have one here on the back side of this page, but I do. And it's in the name of Jesus Christ, I command all human spirits to be bound to the confines of this cemetery. I command all inhuman spirits to go where Jesus Christ tells you to go, for it is He who commands you. So there are prayers that you can use. Whenever I go in, I'm very respectful of that, and I make sure that I use that. And it's not just for the human spirits that are there, but to make sure that nothing's going to follow me out of there.
Yeah, because I don't think we've gotten a request to do a cemetery, but it always seems like everybody wants to go to do a cemetery.
Well, you get a good sense of the history for an area, and I like to go in there just for the research of just checking out the markers, and it's not so much for a paranormal aspect of it, but I suppose there is. Yeah, I suppose there is. But no, I've never had a request to do a cemetery investigation. So, if you get a cemetery that's haunted, what are you doing hanging out in it? Unless you live right next to it, I mean, it's arresting.
It's very difficult to do. I mean, if you're trying to record,
Because you're outside.
Yeah.
you're going to hear voices and cars.
bugs and
Well,
animals and
the Gilson Road Cemetery in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is, if you go on to the internet and Google that, it's pretty famously haunted. I went there with a group of people to do an investigation at their request. It was a newer group. They wanted some guidance. That was back in fall of 2006. And we had some incredible things happen there. But I was still an active law enforcement agent, and it is unlawful to trespass after dark on a cemetery. So without me there, I would never have gone. Right now, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't take that chance. But the police didn't go by when we were there anyway. But some people did go by and yell, "You're trespassing after dark." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, thanks, thanks. I know it's dark. Thank you. But that was a pretty cool place. But that's the only place I've ever done that really wasn't a client-based investigation request. So, but yeah, that had some interesting stuff going on there. I can see where the claims of activity that you read on the internet come from.
I have a question regarding the demonology part. When you first started out, saying that demons for a long period of time, if the activity's been happening for a long period of time, don't you think they'd get sick of it if they can't? I mean, I find it hard to believe that, like, the house activity's been going on for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just don't stop.
Demons exist in a state of timelessness. Time means nothing to them. They can actually retreat and be dormant for years and years and years, because they can wait for as long as they need to. And they wait until you have achieved a period of prosperous happiness and everything's going well, and this is a great opportunity for them to come in and ruin it all. And this has happened to people before. So yeah, they can wait. They can wait a long, long time. And when it appears as though they're gone, they may not be.
That was you bringing that up. That was in John's book. Exact same thing. Something happened years ago. 20, 25 years later, all of a sudden, something happened, and it just kind of festered after. It was just
Right.
for that opportunity.
And typically, it's not all of a sudden you're vulnerable again and everything's going bad. It's they're waiting for things to go good so they can ruin that. Because again, this is furthering their work to mock humanity, and it's an affront to God because we're His creation. So anything they can do to ruin your life, to break your free will, to take that away from you, something they don't have. So taking it away from you is their revenge for being expelled from the heavens. So yes, to answer your question, it can take a long time because they have all the time they want. It can happen, and again, I mean, I did say this earlier too, it can happen spontaneously. It's very unusual for it to, but it can. There's been cases where it has. Most of the times, though, where I deal with requests where people say, all of a sudden she woke up and she was going blah, 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 you know, speaking in tongues and everything was going wrong and dishes were flying out of the cabinets. It's probably more likely an undiagnosed mental condition at that point. I wouldn't say that to them.
Right.
I just want to throw that out there.
I need medication.
But you know, and you know, I'm not a doctor. I have a degree in biochemistry, but there are people who I've encountered that I believe may be suffering from schizophrenia, and you can tell by talking to people because they have a delusional detachment from reality. And I got that from a lot of law enforcement experiences where I dealt with people who were clearly delusional. And you deal with that too with the paranormal, with some of these requests that you get. So is it okay to ask them, is there a history of mental illness in your family? Absolutely. You're going into their environment, their house. I would ask them as many questions as I felt safe asking. And if they don't want to answer, and if they're saying, no, there's no problems here, and you think there is, don't go. I have no problem asking them, are you using any illegal narcotics? What prescription medications are you on? You have to know, because it's not just the fact that prescription medications can mimic paranormal perception. They also might cause violent mood swings, and you don't want to go in there, find sabers attached to the wall that this guy has for ornaments, and have him pull one down and crack you over the head because he didn't like the answer that you gave him. If we go into a house and there's weapons of any kind that aren't secured, we're out the door. The safety of the team comes first. And it's not a distrust of the client, but you don't know who they are.
Right. We had one.
We refused a case because of that reason.
Yeah, good.
Actually, Steve and 2 other members, they wanted someone to come to do the intake. So 3 of them went down, and there were knives everywhere. And one of the other members was a police officer, and she said that she didn't recommend that anybody go back there.
Good.
He actually tried to get them up in the attic. You go first. And
No.
Like, no. I'll stay here. You know, so he was trying. And then he said, well, you can come and investigate. I'm not going to be home, but here's the key. She's like, no, we're, you know.
Yeah, don't fall for that one either. If the client needs to be there, this isn't TAPS, it's not Ghost Hunters, where, you know, they have the client go away. if you go into the home and they're not there, and then they call you and say, all my my gold silverware, or silverware, my silverware is missing and all my gold jewelry is gone, and I'm filing a police report. And guess what? You've opened yourself for some liability that you may not get out of. So the client has got to be there. They've got to be there, at least somewhere in the house.
Then somebody just have too many of them.
Right. Yeah, and we've had that happen before too. They invite the
But I did wanna
kids'
ask you
friends
about
over, and you got noise contamination throughout the house, and that's another indication that it's probably time to leave.
Invested. One of the first words out of the client's mouth, hey, you guys bonded, just in case something comes up missing or anything like that. It's like, the next meeting we brought that up. Anybody ever asked that again? Thank you very much for inviting us, but we're leaving.
We're volunteers. We're not charging you for our services. We're trying to help you. We're not burglars. We're not coming into your home to take your property and possessions. We just want to provide you with answers. Maybe the best way to do that for someone that isn't certain they want you in their home is to. I have no problem with continuing to help them, but just by doing it by email or phone.
And yeah, notice we didn't get anything out. They were about to, oh yeah, there's something here. Never
Right.
hear back from us. But.
And a lot of times you don't. People get cold feet, or they change their mind, or they figure that,
You're going to stir it up more.
Yeah.
They're comfortable with whatever's going on. They don't want it to be, antagonized.
Who knows? I mean, we never know the reason why people disengage from dealing with us. So is there any questions on any of that material, or anything that you have a question for me personally? I mean, I'm happy to answer anything that you need.
I do have one question regarding a case that we have that is upcoming. We received a call from a woman regarding hauntings in her home. And it started after her family came back from a vacation. And she was drawn to this home. She didn't know why. She was just drawn to this home. And they went in and they took pictures, and they had black pictures come out of her very expensive camera. Lens cap was not on. Her son's Jeep camera, pictures came out fine. Very weird instances in all the pictures. But she believes that something from that home followed her home.
Mm-hmm.
Her daughter is now having, speaking to what she calls, and just really strange things. I mean, so I'm just not certain what to think about the whole case, whether it could be demonic in nature, something following them from this house.
What other things, because other than the photography,
Let's see.
because that's really kind of a universal
There were some
gray
odd
area.
things that happened while they were at the house. They went to the house the first time. There was nobody there. Doors were locked. Went back the next day. The doors were unlocked. There was a posting on the door from the bank. I sent that to you, right?
What's that?
That posting from the door from the Pennsylvania one.
No, I haven't gotten any posting.
I know. I think I emailed it to you.
It was the only thing you sent me was the John Hill placard on the.
And the reason I ask you that is that, depending on what other type of activity she's claiming to have.
It's mostly the daughter speaking to someone.
Right.
A lot of crazy things have happened since they got back.
And seeing an entity
That was what she wrote in. And then when I had here was that, pitch black pictures on the expensive camera, came out on the cheap camera. The child's friend is a man, and she calls him. She's had really bad luck since she's come home.
Okay.
Many accidents. Just a lot of really bizarre things.
Did they pick up anything purchase-wise while they were down there? That they brought back?
She didn't mention that.
It's possible, and I would ask her at this point, based on what she has here. I mean, unless she feels like she's immediately threatened and needs help right away, just to continue to monitor what's going on there and see if the activity stops, if it continues to be the same, or if it increases in violence. She said something about a door slamming. If things like that were happening on a frequent basis, that may be reason for her to be concerned for safety, because that is a violent act.